Okay, let's open the meeting at 6:10. And the first order of business is our new board members. So I would like to have just both Selena and Liz take just a minute or two and give us a little brief bit of info and your interest in the library board and the library in general. So that'll just help you tie in with us. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm Liz Lopez Aguado. I'm a member of Rotary, Sandy Rotary, and that's how I met Sarah. And I've worked with her a little bit on the literary, the book distribution projects, and literacy has always been one of my big, literacy and education have always been my two biggest passions. And so when this came up, I am very interested in serving and helping in however I can. So, thank you so much.
Selena. Want to give us a little Selena mini bio update of why you're interested in serving on the board? Not everybody got to be part of your interview process, both of you. So there's wonderful things for you both to share that you bring to the board.
Yes, I have lived in Sandy for over a decade. I went to Sandy High School, and I use the library very frequently to help tutor students in Spanish because I'm bilingual. And so I got interested. I wanted to join in with Sandy as a community member, not just kind of living, but I want to be a part of how it's growing because it's growing so exponentially. And so the library, I read all the time. I have a mini library at my house. I love reading. I love the community that it brings people. And I wanted to talk with others and see if there's any other ideas we could think of to bring the community together. Because the library, and from my point of view, pre-COVID, used to be like the hub to go to. Like my sister and I would go to it. We loved it. It was the spot. And then, of course, COVID happened, and it hasn't been that, at least like not to that scale. So I want to collaborate with others and see how we can get it back up there and beyond. Yeah. And then I also, my husband and I run two businesses, Restore Hub and Horseball Design Co. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Selena.
Excellent.
You're welcome.
Should we have everybody on the board introduce themselves to Selena and Liz?
Yeah, great idea. I will start. I'm Heather Miche, a longtime Sandy resident and business owner, wear multiple hats in this great city that I really do love living in. And in addition to the library board, I'm also involved with the transit advisory board and very much a library nerd as well as a public transit nerd. And like Selena indicated, I'm very interested in serving to really keep our city on track with some smart growth, as well as providing services for our citizens in our service areas that really support us as a community. So I'm also very interested in gardening and sustainable living, which is why I recently also joined the Be Action City group. So that's it.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Drain, and I've been on the board approximately 6 years. Prior to that, many years before that, I was actually the reference librarian here and then stepped away because it didn't seem right for someone who had worked to be part of the library board. But then when issues came up with the library district, I came on board to take the place of one of our other stalwarts, George Hoyt, who was one of the people who helped found the library district. And my goal on the board has been to preserve the district and keep it healthy. And for 5 years, I was on what is called LDAC, which is the county-wide entity that oversees the library district in an advisory capacity. And each library has one person assigned to it, and I have now stepped back from that, and now Bethany is that person.
I'm Bethany Schultz, and I've been a library board member for, I think we decided around 4 years at this point. Before that, I was a counselor for the city of Sandy, and before that, I was a representative on the Parks Board. So I love this town, and I love what this board is doing. My new role as the LDAC appointee is exciting. There's a lot going on right now, and Kathy is going to continue to help push forward our projects and what we're hoping to see for the whole county.
Well, I'm not a board member, folks, but I'm a city councilor, and I'm the city councilor liaison to the library boards. So I have been a resident for 38 years in Sandy and been pretty active working with Bethany on the Parks Board for 25 years or so, and then interested in city politics and got put onto this. I've always used the library, I haven't had that much informed knowledge about, all the ins and outs of it. So I am really just so impressed. I've been on here about 3 years, I think, and it's been really amazing to see all the things that you all are doing and running, and 2 libraries. It's just amazing. And my role is to try to identify any issues that, kind of a two-way communication. What things does the city council need to know that you guys are working on and wanting support for, and what kind of information or is the city council, what direction or opportunities are they supporting to help the library districts? And recently just kind of more interested in the whole Hoodland rent issue, and wanting to kind of talk to more about that, and wanting to kind of take another run at it. So, and I worked up in Hoodland up at Zigzag for 25 years, so I'm real familiar with that area and folks up there and their needs.
And this is Kathleen Walker, by the way, her name. So we have 2 Kathleens, so you gotta be careful on that first letter of the last name. So
Wonderful.
And then Lynn. Can you tell us a little?
I've introduced myself, so I'm Lynn Pollard. I am one of the 2 Hoodland representatives to the library board. I have lived in Hoodland, except for 1 year, since 1976. It almost makes me a local. And, I'm particularly interested in the arrangement between Sandy and Hoodland, and in getting recognition for the Hoodland area at the county level, I think you might say. I'm retired. I retired from OPB, sure everybody knows that's in public broadcasting, as a vice president, and yeah, that's it. Personally, it's also includes, which is very difficult in Hoodland.
Dale, do you want to give us a little bit of info about you and why you're joining us tonight? You have to unmute yourself.
Will it echo terribly?
No,
Fixed.
sound good.
Oh, okay. I was trying to get Bruce online with us. Dale Hoff, I worked many different jobs. I ended my career working maintenance work for a warehousing company. I retired. The wife has a store and does upholstery, and I help there. Lived in Sandy since 75, raised a family here. That's about it.
Well, you're a friend of the library, right?
Yep, friend of the library.
You're the president of the Friends of the Library, which is why you're here.
Right.
Okay,
Bruce is the vice president. I'm trying to get him on too.
I think he's in the meeting.
Oh,
So-
okay. I don't see him there.
He's an attendee. Just the board members are on the screen. So Bruce and Grover are both attending the meeting right now, so he is on.
Okay. Thank you.
Go, thank you. And so we go to public comment. That would be Grover.
Grover, I'm assuming you don't want to say anything, you just want to watch and see what we're up to, right?
He raised his hand. Raise a hand, yeah. Where do you see that? Oh, it says he raised his.
Underland. Is that underland? It says.
Yeah, but I can't see.
You just maybe unmute him.
Go ahead, Grover. You can,
Hi there. I just never pass up an opportunity for public comment, particularly with people who care about libraries. So I'm on the Oak Lodge Gladstone Library Board. I've been on it for almost a decade now, and I'm also on the Library District Advisory Committee, and we'll miss Kathleen and welcome our new member. But I'm particularly interested in how we resolve, and that's what I'm listening in for today, is how we resolve the completion of the beginning of the library district, which was the county had 3 libraries and they've taken care ultimately the first 2 and now Hoodlands the last. And I'm here to be of support for fulfilling that. And as a side note, my wife was raised in Brightwood and is a Sandy graduate from years gone by. And so we're well connected. We come up there periodically. So that's it for me. And I just, I'll go back to being quiet. Thanks.
Thanks, Grover.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move into the approval of our last meeting minutes, which is from December 6th. Were there any revisions, corrections, additions? Anybody found? No? Okay. So,
move to accept the minutes.
thank you. We have a
Second.
second? Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of accepting the minutes from December 6th?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, so approved. And Sarah, you're up under new business for our infographic snapshot for 2023.
So for the last number of years, Pia, our wonderful publicity person, has been helping me to create an infographic snapshot for a year, looking at the year past. So I just wanted to go through it with you today. This is the first public look at it. So after this, if sometimes we see errors or we think, is that really true? Or I can look into anything that you are concerned about or have any questions about to make sure that everything is accurate, but we double checked and triple checked, so hopefully everything is perfect this time around. Anyway, so each section has a little marker, and you can see that generally Hoodland is about 1/5 of Sandy. For most things, it's between 1/4 and 1/5 of the business that Sandy does. So these statistics sort of play out for most things. There are a few that it's higher in.
And where's the hand?
Let's see.
Just unmute.
Hi, yeah, I just unmuted myself, sorry, I didn't hear you. How does that work out relative to the population ratio?
It's about, yeah, Portland is about 1/5 of the population of the Sandy service area.
Okay. So it's in line with the actual population, the usage is in line. Thank you.
On the meeting and talk same time. Can you tell us, Sarah, how will you use this now that you've created this document? I mean, to me, it looked great, so it's not that you.
So we, last year we put it out in the library and had copies that people could walk away with. I think the information, especially about like what topics check out and things like that are interesting to people. And then I love the overall value. There's a value calculator for libraries that we use to find out the value of the services for both libraries. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So we'll put it out in the library.
Will it also be on the blog page? Will there be a visual?
I think, well, I'll talk to Thea about, she's doing the March newsletter right now, because she'll be leaving us, but, I will talk to her about possibly putting it in the newsletter, getting it on the blog. We could certainly put it on the website.
Yeah.
And
Are you okay with it? Because one of the things I was looking at doing, you know, there's a lot of controversy about the police chief and all that, you know, and a lot of folks that live outside the city, you know, wanting input on that. It's just been fun. You missed a great
Really
barn
sad.
burner meeting Monday night, but it was good. It was great, you know, input to hear from, but just kind of, I thought that I would try to be kind of informing folks about all the things that the city of Sandy does for folks outside the city limits. And I was gonna start with the library since I, you know, and I was thinking of, when I saw this, I just thought, what an amazing picture of what y'all do. So putting that on like Sandy community information and all.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. In fact, we were thinking, we could put it on the City of Sandy
Definitely.
Facebook page and then people could share it from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Just such a great picture and whatnot. And, you know, again, selling that, library of things. I mean, I still think people aren't even aware, you know, paper shredders and all sorts of stuff, you know, just
Instant
amazing.
pots.
Huh?
Instant pot,
Yeah.
guitars,
Yeah.
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 Sewing machines, pasta machines, hotspots. I didn't know that.
A
Great
lot of people
visual.
are doing VHS
Yeah.
to DVD converting still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For, all their family
Cool.
videos,
That's
probably.
awesome. Yeah.
VR headset, huh?
Yeah.
Have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Any other thoughts about the?
I like that you added the favorite authors. Was that new this year or did you do that
We
last?
had it in there last
No,
year.
I don't remember that. That's really
The
cool.
first year we didn't,
I like
last year we had it.
Kind of fun.
I think it's more colorful this year, so I think it's, different things stand out to different people because of the more colors. It was all like in blues last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Great job.
Yeah.
I was amazed that the Clackamas County Parks was the number, I would have thought the zoo and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, we don't have a zoo pass.
Oh, we don't, what,
Yeah,
okay.
the zoo won't work with us, because the cultural pass, but, yeah, we've got like the Japanese garden, the Chinese garden, the Oregon garden, the Portland Art Museum.
Oregon Historical Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The state parks, there's a state parks pass and the Clackamas County Parks Pass.
Aviation Museum.
Evergreen Aviation, the Rhododendron Garden.
So how do you get those?
So there's a, if you go to the link website, the library catalog, on the left-hand side, there's a little, there's a menu and you choose cultural passes and it takes you to a Cultural Pass Express website. That you can look at all the passes that we have, and book one. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a calendar of like what's available on your day that you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the pass you want, it's generally gonna be available on the day you wanna go. I mean, there are a few exceptions, like the Pittock Museum during the holidays, and they're all decorated for Christmas, right? It's a little bit more difficult to get it on the day you want it, but if you plan far enough ahead, you can certainly, yeah.
Is it still a 24-hour turnaround?
On what?
Checking it out and turning it back in?
No, you just download it to your phone.
Oh,
So, yeah, yeah, download all the passes to your phone, you just have it with you, and so like I was wandering around Portland one day with a friend and we had a couple hours to kill, and I'm like, oh, have you ever been to the Chinese Garden? Oh, no, when I logged in and booked the pass and walked up and handed it to them.
Cool.
Super.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And one thing to note about the passes that is different from previous is that there are 2 passes now that you can only check out once per year.
Yeah.
Really popular ones, so.
Yeah.
It does.
And the venues set up the limitations, so we don't have any choice in,
Booking it.
yeah.
I'm like, done.
Yeah, so we work with the vendors and, or the venues, and then they set up whatever limitations they feel are necessary to keep their ability to get people to get their own annual passes and things like that, so. Yeah. Great.
And then the social media, Sarah, that's just how many followers we have like on Facebook and Instagram, okay,
Yep,
awesome. Okay,
and that's on the Friends of Sandy Library
correct.
social media page,
Yeah.
Cause the city is all combined in one.
Right, right. Okay, and moving on to item 4, we have your presentation on the outreach vehicle, also known as at times the bookmobile.
Yeah. So. As you all know, we've been working very hard trying to get an outreach vehicle for the library. The budget committee awarded us $150,000 in this budget cycle. Rebecca and I went to the Bookmobile conference last October and found a vehicle that's wonderful. We fell in love with it. Originally, the guy told us that we could get it within 3 to 6 months. It was the only vehicle that was available within 3 to 6 months. All the other ones are 18 to 24 months out. When we were working on the grant application for the grant we were going to apply for, the feedback we got from the grantee was, you know, most bookmobiles are 18 to 24 months out. Are you really sure you can get this? So I verified, and the guy was like, oh yeah, that one is now 18 to 24 months, just like everything else. So we sort of missed our little window to be able to get it quickly. But we found another grant opportunity that we can apply for, so we're still moving forward. We're gonna try for a grant with the Ford Family Foundation. So we're trying to do it on the same schedule that we were working with before, so we wanna submit it by the end of February. So we are asking organizations, and this is the ask for the library board, to write a letter of support for the library. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about why we need a vehicle and what we're gonna use it for. And then we can discuss the possibilities from there. So. Here. This. It's not too. There we go. Maybe, what's it doing now? Sorry about that. So the Sandy and Hoodland libraries have much larger service areas than most of the libraries in Clackamas County. But we have a lower percentage, or we have a larger service area population, sorry, than some of the libraries in Clackamas County. But for those libraries, we have a lower percentage of card, or a lower number of card holders. And library checkouts. Percentage, I should go back to percentage. So And we think that's because of our significant square mileage. It's more difficult for people to get into the library, to get a card and to check items out. So that is why we believe we need a bookmobile. And to think about the libraries in Clackamas County, for example, Westland and Wilsonville have so Westland, 43% of their service population has cards. Wilsonville, 45% of their service population has cards, and they're close to this, the service populations, they're almost 30,000. And between Sandy and Hoodland, we're 34,000. So, and to give you the comparison, Sandy and Hoodland have 29% of card holders have cards. So it's a significant difference from most of those libraries that have even smaller service populations but like Westland is in 18 square miles and Wilsonville is in 45 square miles. Sandy and Hoodland are 394 square miles. So
Is that
large
including
area.
national forest land?
It is, yeah. There are only 2 libraries in the county that have larger square mileage than us, and those are Molalla. So they're 404, so only 10 square miles more than us. And Estacada has 773 square miles. But again, it's a lot of forested area.
I'm just curious what their percentage is then of card holders.
Estacada has 20% of their card holders have. So the interesting thing is Estacada and Molalla are 2 libraries that have bookmobiles. Molalla has been using their bookmobile for the last year. And it shows their percentage of increase in card holders for the last year is 6.4%. So that's significant. Sandy's was only 1.43% increase. So, and I think that is mostly due to the bookmobile, getting out there and getting people cards and checking items out. So, so Estacada has a bookmobile. They have just hired an outreach person. They haven't, and they're just starting to use it. So I don't really have any good statistics from them yet. But we'll be able to see in the next year kind of how they do and their increases, things like that. The only other libraries that had significant increases in numbers of card holders, Milwaukee had a 12% increase, and I think it's all due to their new building. Of course, right? Anytime you build a new library, you end up attracting a whole bunch of people who weren't library users before. And then Happy Valley has had a almost 6.5% increase, but they've had a 6.5% increase in their population. So, yeah. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds, so sorry about that, but so yeah. So the idea is to bring library service to where the people are, to the retirement homes and senior centers and daycares and preschools and schools, to get, especially kids and elderly people often have a harder time getting into the library, right? They don't always have their own transportation. They may have to wait for somebody to bring them, things like that.
So would this vehicle serve the Woodland area as well? Okay, so I was just wondering how. So how will the staffing be apportioned between the 2 service area budgets? The cost of staffing.
So, I mean, my goal would be that it would be a Hoodland staff member who takes the bookmobile out up in Hoodland.
Okay.
So, but it really depends on what we're going out to do. So like Maureen, so let's go to the next slide. So some of the things that we want to do are teach computer classes. And Maureen is our person who teaches computer classes. So we may have to, and we can assign, and she already is assigned, some of her hours are assigned to Hoodland because she does selection for them. So if we saw a significant increase in her hours that she was working, like as a Hoodland employee, we would have to change the budget a little bit to show that.
Right.
But she already, some of her hours are already apportioned to Hoodland for the selection piece.
So you just do cost allocation based on actual number of hours served.
Yeah.
For any specific event.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll also have computers with us that people can use the internet. Digital equity is one of the things that we know happens in Clackamas County. People who live in those outlying areas don't have great access to internet. That's why the 103 hotspot checkouts. So we're trying to help it that way, but this would also give people the ability to walk in and do something real quick. You know, and then print out things that they need.
Right.
So we have a lot of, I mean, over 29,000 total pages printed in the library last year. So significant. And then, of course, youth services, story times. So we do have, Monica trains other staff to do story times. So Monica wouldn't have to go out to do the story times up at Hoodland, like Molly, who is a Hoodland employee, is trained to do story time. So she would likely do most of the story times up at Hoodland. Yeah. And then STEM and literacy activities. We already go to Vista Apartments to do literacy and STEM activities, right? But this would give us the ability to take more things with us, to take the vehicle, to take all kinds of materials for the kids and adults there to check out. So it's a great opportunity for us to be able to do more at our outreach things. You know, right now where staff are driving their cars and taking boxes or bags full of stuff with them, but this would make it much easier to be able to have a much broader range of materials available.
Would you envision by any chance having a regular route where maybe holds could be picked up?
Yep.
If, you know, every Thursday at 11 a.m. the vehicle was at X location, the local neighborhood would know that that was available? Okay.
Yes, what I am envisioning is having a location of Sandy Bookmobile that people could have their whole pickup location be, rather than just Sandy, right?
Mhm.
And then, yes, it would go into the old SKU. We might have to work it out a little bit, because, you know, if we only go once a month, they don't show up to pick up their holds.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but, yeah. So I'm envisioning having that location, so when people got their library card, it would be listed as a Sandy Bookmobile library card, so we would know where all of the statistics would keep. We would know who got cards, how many checkouts we had on the Bookmobile. We would keep a count of the walk-in traffic, because a lot of people don't get a card or don't check something out, but just have questions or wanna use the computer or something like that, so, yeah. And then, of course, checking materials out. So we're hoping that the impacts of our outreach vehicle are an increase in kids in literacy activities, and an increase in kids and teen STEM learning activities. So in the Oregon Trail School District, Latino students fall behind their peers in science. So doing these STEM activities will hopefully give them some experience with science and increase their skills and abilities there. And then, of course, we want to increase our number of computer sessions and computer class participants and increase our number of library card holders. And then what can you do to help? We'd love a letter of support from the library board. We are gonna have a survey out soon about good places to park and what time we should go to different locations. That we'll send that survey out to all the organizations we've already approached. So we've sent an email letter out to organizations. Heather got it as the chair of the transit board. So we sent it out to city boards and commissions. We sent it out to all the community planning organizations outside of the city of Sandy. We sent it out to all the daycares and preschools and to the school, to all of the service organizations like Rotary and Kiwanis and Lions Club, the Avamere Retirement Home. So anybody that we felt like would have a stake in having the Bookmobile come out to their community.
I'm wondering, even though they're right here in town, but how about, did you approach Ant Farm as well for a letter of support, just in the sense that so many of the youth that they serve are from outside?
Yeah, we haven't. What was that?
I raised my hand, so I had
Go
a
ahead.
question. Did you send to the Lions Club in Hoodland?
Yes,
And
yes.
the Women's Club?
Women's Club.
I don't think we sent it to the Finland Women's Club. Are you still the chair, Lynn?
No. But the address is the same. I can give you the address. Breed.
That would be great.
is the current president.
I also
And
realized
then,
we didn't send it to the Chamber of Commerce.
yeah, it's the Chamber of Commerce, which is not terribly active, but also the CPO. And I can find out who those people are.
Great thoughts, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
We did all the CPOs. And Bull Run, so we've already gotten about 5 letters of support from different organizations, one of them came from Bull Run CPO. A few of the advisory boards are doing letters of support, and then Toast from Toast has already, yep, so we got some varied support out there, which is
On
great.
behalf of the council.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. I was just Googling the pictures of the other ones, Malala and Estacada.
Mhm.
They both have kind of the Sprinter van with the wrap on the outside, really colorful and stuff. One of them had the price tag that they paid at $225,000. Is that kind of the model you're looking at, or
No. We're looking at that, those are more book haulers, so people can't walk in and select items. They're taking items in carts and then rolling them into places. So, or if people can come on, it's gonna be just to get items, right? So what we're looking at, and we can pass this around a little bit, and I'll start it with you, Kathleen, is more like a small bus. So in this vehicle, it feels, it's a little bit wider than the Sprinter vans for sure. It has
it's not
windows.
classy? You don't have to have special driving.
Nope, you don't need a CDL for it. It has windows all the way around the vehicle. But you can still do a full wrap on the outside of the vehicle. So inside is lighter, and more open because of that light coming in, than those Sprinter vans are. And we can change out like, shelving for desks. So we can get 5 desks in that vehicle to do the STEM activities with kids and to do computer classes. So yeah, so we're really trying to go for the maximum flexibility of the vehicle.
What's the cost?
It is about $295,000.
A lot, not that much more money, but for a lot more
Yes,
flexibility.
more flexibility for sure.
Sarah, can you read out the model name so that the folks who aren't here can at least Google it or look it up if they want to?
So it has a Ram ProMaster 3500 chassis. It is, the vehicle name itself is the Farber Elf 2024, FARBER. So, and I'm sure if you look up the Farber Elf, the Farber website will come up and can give you more information about it. What the wonderful thing about this vehicle too is that the ADA access is manual. It's not a hydraulic lift because it's a low clearance vehicle. So it just unhooks from the counter of the side of the door, and then you just roll it out the door. So it's like a 10-inch step up into the vehicle, and the ramp, yeah, is, so that's a wonderful component of it too. We were really excited to see that. Because most bookmobiles are so high up that you need a hydraulic lift to get in, which takes up a whole section of wall space. So it's wonderful to have this possibility where we can use the door for all access and not have to have another entry.
So are you going for $150,000 grant from Ford?
Something like that. We have the information session is tomorrow.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna pay attention to is whether staffing can be included in the grant request. Because if it is, we could ask for staffing for the first year. To try to get us off the ground, right? So if we can do that, the grant will ask for more than 150,000.
Mhm.
But yeah,
You kind of also cover that in like, oh, training for the staff on how to operate it, blah, blah, woof, woof, you know.
yeah, yeah,
So that's not just like, you know, when you just say, oh, you know, grants hardly ever want to cover staff operations.
right.
If you could kind of put it cagey in
Yeah.
those terms.
But the Ford Family Foundation, when we looked, they had awarded grants of up to $3.5 million. To all kinds of organizations, and they mostly serve Oregon.
Yeah, they're great.
So yeah, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, go big or go home.
Yeah.
Like even to fit it out with the computers and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would be costing out all the
Yep.
content, you know, innards,
Yeah, we
right?
could even have some of it be for permanent items that will stay on the bookmobile books,
Mhm.
you know, kids' books and things like that. So,
Yep.
yeah,
So can I make a motion that Heather write a letter on behalf of the Sandy and Hoodland Library Advisory Board in support of the effort? That work as a method?
that work as far as,
that's great.
okay.
So I so move.
Second.
Well, somebody else.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, I'm just waiting for the vote.
Well,
It's kind of hard to participate when you're on mute and then
understood. Okay, let's take a vote, all in favor. For me, Heather, to write this letter of support for the vehicle.
Hi.
Hi.
Any opposition? Okay, so moved.
And Lynn said in the chat, when I moved to Hoodland, we had a bookmobile.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for doing that.
Question regarding the.
Can you mute yourself?
Support letters from individuals outside of city limits, is that helpful, supportive, or is it just organizations primarily that you're looking for?
No, I don't know.
Well,
When I-
add to those places, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I
And the
mean,
Ford Foundation isn't, you know, they're not so picky about the
yeah,
city limits or anything like that, and
And they're-
it's library, it serves both library districts.
and they actually talk about serving rural residents.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a larger population and
Yeah,
a rural, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think any letter of support can't hurt.
I'll get you one from my farm school.
All right.
Excellent.
Now, I was gonna ask, so would that get, because of the computers and everything in it, would you guys be parking that in the operations center overnight?
I mean, my hope is the transit bus barn.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah.
Behind fence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And Andy has already indicated that we could have a contract with the transit to wash the vehicle and stuff like that, because she's like, the bay isn't that easy to use, and I'm like, we would love a contract. So, yeah.
Okay. Moving on to old business, Woodland rent update, number 5.
Sarah, you wanna take the point on that, or?
I am gonna try to stop sharing my screen. So that we can see faces again. All right, the Hoodland rent update. So there was a meeting at the county, an issues meeting on January 16th. where Commissioner Shull took the issue of the Hoodland rent to the whole county commissioners. And
Did we know that was happening?
Yes,
Did anybody attend it?
yes,
Okay.
by Zoom.
yeah, there's no public comment at an issue. Lynn, did you have something to say?
Just waiting.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Is it making it echo?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And at that meeting, Commissioner Shull felt like he had, going into the meeting, the support of 2 of the county commissioners, but the other 2 county commissioners raised enough of a fuss that they tabled the discussion. So I'm not sure if we need to regroup and come at it another way, or go ahead, Kathy.
Did you get a report by any chance from City Manager Deems on the chat the mayor was going to have with Chair Smith this
haven't.
week or last week?
We haven't gotten a report.
No, one of the things I was concerned, I just started, that's why I was a little late to the session, because you said it was like 15 minutes, it goes on for like over 30 minutes or so.
Does it?
Yeah, so I was trying to kind of get as much of it, but the thing that was kind of glaringly obvious to me was that these people thought that the money was for operations and maintenance, not for the rent. It didn't, it didn't come up in the first, 20 minutes that I listened to it. So so there was it's like everybody's seeing the elephant from a different position as to what we're talking about. And I went to we have a Clackamas County's dinner every month for city councilors and stuff's coming. And it was in Canby, and I sat down at the table and Paul Savis was at the table. And so I, graciously said, because the meeting from November was like all systems go. And I said, I just want to thank you for agreeing to fund the Hoodland Library rent, and that's a great thing. And he's like, oh, no, that's dead in the water. And I'm like, what? So then I proceeded to kind of just ask a bunch of questions, and he was just really challenging, because he kept saying, well, Scott Lazenby this and Scott Lazenby that and Linda Malone and da-da-da, and I'm like, those people, that was our city manager like 20 years ago. And Linda Malone hasn't been mayor in, almost as much.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of going, okay, and he obviously, he has a lot of, stuff, and because he just kind of kept going on, and he's got this whole whatever script in his head about stuff, and he's like, no, the city, the MOU and all that, this doesn't meet the MOU, you guys were dying to do this and all that. I mean, there was a couple things that I kind of called him out and said, no, that's not the case, because he was saying that, like, because I pointed out how much the millions that they had given to these other libraries. And he said, well, that was because of a lawsuit.
Yeah, he has an excuse for the funding,
Right,
but regardless of the reason, it was done.
right. Well, I kind of was
General fund
thinking,
money
of course, I
or
would say it was,
money
do we
was
need to file a lawsuit? I don't know if that's how they did it. Maybe that's the next, I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I want to find out more about, and I kind of thought, okay, I'll just let the mayor and Tyler guys run with it, because you don't need to have too many people in the room. But Monday night, when I gave you a little brief update on what the library stuff was going on, and I mentioned that I had gotten surprised at this dinner, and Tyler goes, oh yeah, I meant to tell you about that. And then I kind of said, well, yeah, well, he's had a few things on his mind. I don't begrudge him, he's doing a great job. And so then I said, well, I would like to, find out more about that and take, I wish I'd have been at the meeting, because I think it's really important to, to do this. And yeah, but I just want to do, I talked to Sarah about it this afternoon, and I said, I would like to kind of have a meeting, kind of, it's not everybody has to do, because it's gonna get in the weeds pretty quick. But have a meeting like with you two and Sarah and me, and just talk about, a little bit of the history, look at stuff you've done copious amounts of information. And I know you guys had a briefing sheet there, and just try to figure out, and then talking to Tyler and, Stan maybe, because on this video, there's like stuff in there that, well, Tootie talked to Stan, but that was before the meeting. And see, the dinner was after this January 16th meeting, that was the 25th. So, but, I couldn't, so evidently Stan and Tootie talked, but I mean, honest to goodness, guys, what I heard, I mean, you should listen to the video. It's on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, we got
Oh, good. Okay, well, what was striking to me was that they were basically implying that Hoodland Library would not be allowed for this work.
Okay, so just to.
Wait, Lynn, go ahead. We can get rid of your echo.
Okay. Watching the video, and I really appreciate the efforts that Marshall put into advancing the cause. But the issue of equity never came up. The issue of the money that had been given to the other libraries and why we were asking for this. I think he did a great job trying to propose that. There was so much misunderstanding on the part of the commissioners about what we were asking and the situation generally. It was quite frustrating to watch, to be honest. And I do appreciate that when people run for public office, they have to be brought up to speed. But I've had very few interactions here recently around this issue. Sometimes the commissioners are not up to speed and they have not read the briefings that have been sent to them. And so everyone is kind of talking across purposes. And I found that really difficult. And I came away after watching it thinking, yes, it's dead in the water. So Kathleen Walker, if you have ideas to move it forward, that'd be fine. I was very struck, but they kept saying that Stan had changed his position. And so do we know if that's true? Or is it, again, just another misunderstanding? And then the other thing that I'm going to bring up that we brought up in the last meeting at the county is I believe that Hoodland is not receiving the money it should get from the county, from the library levy, because of the density of second homes and short-term rentals in our area. And it's not equivalent to the other areas in Clackamas County. And I wonder how much money is going into whatever coffers that are not coming into the Hoodland Library coffer if they actually gave the money by houses. And the attorney at the county said, yes, we have a formula. I don't know what that formula is. And I don't know if it accurately reflects the money that is paid for the library district in the Hoodland area. Because that might solve the issue right here. Okay, doing my back on mute.
Thank you, Lynn. Go ahead, Kathleen.
The way the money is definitely collected. So the county collects based on the real estate tax,
Assessed valuation.
assessment against all of the houses in the unincorporated area. That goes into a big pot that then gets divided up per capita based on the census number for the number of unincorporated citizens within the unincorporated portion of the county. The dilemma, Lynn, and this is where you are right, is that the census, based on what Sarah has told me, the census for the Hoodland area presupposes only the full-time residents. So the population number attributed to the Hoodland service area may be an undercount. And if it were increased, you might get more. It depends how the formula would work out though, so what the per capita would change as well.
And so I would just be interested to see how that calculated out, because the last I heard, we are in a little area over 500 non-resident homes. But they would not be counted in the census because it's not the primary residence. And that could be quite a lot of money. If you even take a low average value that our house values are going up quite a lot. And so it feels like there's probably a lot of money that is not coming back into the library area, the library district for Woodland.
Well, the per capita would change because the total population against the pot would also change.
Yeah. Again, I
One of
don't know what the formula is, so.
Why don't you kill your speaker for a second then? So one of the things that I suggested to City Manager Deans the other day is that, to me, it was quite remarkable when you watch the video, that Administrator Schmidt was willing to fund this rent out of the administrator's personal contingency budget. That was an amazing generosity on his part, and that showed his commitment to what we were doing, I thought, and I thanked him for having made that overture. But I said to City Manager Deans that it seems to me that the logical pot for the Woodland rent is the tourism pot. Because the Woodland Library serves not only its resident population, but many tourists and the non-residents that are coming into that area. So if the county were looking for a logical pot to cover that rent, it seems to me that tourism tax would be a perfect solution, especially since it's such a paltry number. And so that might be a way, Kathleen, to go back to the county with Commissioner Schultz's support to have a source.
Yeah, one of the challenges of that is, part of what I heard was Toody's problem with it was that they were using general fund dollars instead of library district dollars to make up the money. She objected to that. And so using tourism dollars, may have the same argument. I don't know. That's
Well,
one thing.
it would have the same argument from her point of view. The fallacy of her argument is that they used plenty of general fund money to both fund the Happy Valley Library, the Gladstone Library, and the Oak Lodge Library.
Yeah.
So, she's choosing to disregard that whole issue.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity there, especially because, it doesn't, I was involved very closely with all the Clackamas County tourism stuff, and they've just been given a bunch of money from Travel Oregon to be a tourism, our DMO, a destination marketing organization. And so there's lots of money there in that tourism bureau. But what's frustrating to me is it doesn't seem like it comes up to the mountain, even though that's pretty much what they market, who knows what, what it is at what's the name of their thing, the territories, mountain territory. A big picture of, timberline or whatever up on the mountain.
Yeah.
And yet, so they use all the
Sandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's really frustrating that they use all that, but the money, because I would go after grants from the tourism, for less than like $5,000, where I was doing it myself. I ended up getting paid like 25 cents an hour when it was all said and done. But my point is that then they would do these contracts with these huge expensive consultants to do some other similar brochure and yeah. So I think there is something to be said there about, because the tourism thing, I think that's a good idea to give them that as an alternative, if you don't want to take it out of general fund. Consider the tourism.
All right.
That's good.
What I'd suggest that we do is, I love your suggestion, Kathleen, is that we regroup with both City Manager Deans and maybe the mayor, right? And
excuse me, I didn't answer your second. I'm gonna have lunch here, I don't know what the date is here, the next couple of weeks with him, and that's on the agenda, because Tyler and me and the mayor are gonna have a discussion about that.
Now, just to let everybody know, when I wrote a thank you note by email to Administrator Schmidt after the session, thanking him for being a champion for us, he wrote back to say he does not consider this debt. So
Debt? Dead, oh, good.
Dead.
I thought you said dead.
So, I think this is just something that we need to keep pressing on and maybe reconfigure a bit. And try to, with Mayor Pulliam's assistance, educate.
Yeah.
Both Chairs Smith, who I don't think we will succeed in getting, but if we can get, Mr. West.
Yeah.
It would make a big difference.
Martha, I think Martha probably already supports, I didn't get to her where she
Well,
was.
she
talking about.
equivocated,
She
so
what?
she equivocated, which is what she often does.
We're not gonna get Paul, but we could
No.
get Ben and we could get,
He thought,
Mark,
Commissioner
we've got
Scholl,
Mark, yeah.
Commissioner Scholl thought that he had Mr. West and, Ms. Schrader.
I realized we started this discussion without any preamble. Hold on, Lynn, your thought for just a moment. For our new board members, we started the discussion where we last left off from our last board meeting. So, we went, the unincorporated residents of the Woodland area sent a letter to the county a year and a half ago now, to ask for the county to pay for the Woodland rent because of the work that Kathy Drain had done to show the millions of dollars that went into the Happy Valley Library and that was for mostly unincorporated area. And then that library was gifted to the city of Happy Valley. And then the Oak Lodge and Gladstone libraries, which are currently being built, have also been given millions of dollars. So she compared the Hoodland and we know that Hoodland is not going to get $6 million, right, from the county, but $25,000 a year in rent seems like a very reasonable request until the idea was that we would do this until they could figure out a permanent home or a plan for a permanent home for the Hoodland Library. It is currently, other than the Molalla Library, the only library after Oak Lodge is built that will be a rent situation. And the Molalla Library rents for $1 a year from their school district. So it's really.
Yeah, and 25,000 it's hardly nothing for the county, but it's, for the budget for operations.
Oh, yeah.
And all that, to have more stuff in the, more books and all that. And it's 150,000 over 5 years, so that's something.
And the Hoodland service area is all unincorporated population.
I should raise one. I should let everybody know one other thing, which is that I did provide City Manager Deans with a copy of the contract by which Sandy assumed operation of the Hoodland service area. It is called a capital IGA because it dealt with that funding, that one-time funding that the county agreed as part of the formation of the library district for each library to receive. And so this document is the one that allowed Sandy to receive $1 million and for Hoodland to receive $250,000 for capital purposes one time. But tacked onto that agreement is the actual assumption of the operation of the Hoodland area for Sandy to manage it. It has a termination clause in it.
Was it signed by Scott Lazenby?
Actually, it was signed by Linda Malone.
Right, yeah.
So, the termination clause calls for 120-day notice, I think. We said in the negotiation session with the county that occurred in November last year, when we were getting a lot of pushback from Commissioner Savas, that Sandy doesn't have to operate this area. It does it by agreement as a community service. The accounting is clean, everything is presented. Sandy could terminate that agreement. So I did provide Tyler a copy of the agreement so that he could give it to Mayor Pulliam, because Mayor Pulliam was quite annoyed that he had walked out of a meeting in which it was represented that it was likely that this settlement was going to happen.
Yeah,
And he suddenly finds out that it falls apart.
right. So if you could send me whatever you sent, Tyler, that'd be helpful for me to get that up to speed. And then second of all, I would say that the concern I had, because Stan, after the Monday night's council meeting I was just talking to Stan and, he goes, oh, yeah. Anyway, he did say that, he says, well, we don't have to manage it, if they, and I said, well, be careful what you wish for, because if we think that, the county's gonna pick up the ball and run with it, instead of just saying, in fact, that's on the video, it says, they can just drive down to the city of Sandy's library. So that's kind of what the board of commissioners are thinking, is that, we'll just close the one up at Hoodland and have them come down here. So I said, so the, gist of all that is that we'll get more, again, the city providing for, a bunch of folks outside. Is the money coming with that, or,
Well, it would have
enough
to.
money?
It would have to.
Well,
So the thing is,
yeah.
there'd be a service area that would be non-allocated to
Right.
anybody.
Yeah.
And the city of Sandy is the only logical area to tack it onto.
Right.
So.
But if our objective is to have, continue to have a Hoodland library,
Exactly.
kind of pulling that trump card is maybe not what we want. I said, be careful what you wish for. I'm not sure we want to go there.
And I was gonna say that watching the video, I thought it was very clear that if Hoodland Library was endangered in any way, Ben West and Martha Strader would totally change their position in order to support its continued existence. They virtually said that.
I think that was it. I think you're right. All right, so shall we just say that we will, with Lynn, have a meeting with,
So that was a question.
oh, okay.
Sorry, this video that you're mentioning on YouTube, what's it called?
Thank you.
I have it right here. Hold on.
I can send the link out.
Yeah, we can just send it out.
Yeah, but it's issues ampersand updates dash January 16th, 2024.
And that's on the Clackamas County Commissioners.
Well, I mean, if you just put that into Google on YouTube,
It'll
it
come
came
up.
right up, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And just so you don't waste your time on it,
Oh, yeah.
the library starts at 39 minutes and lasts for 15 minutes.
Oh, it's more than that.
Kathleen,
Yeah,
I know
it's more
I
like-
said it was 30 minutes.
It was, it was at least 30, yeah. Because I kind of was like getting the meeting, I'm like, God, how long does this thing go? And I got to the end where they stopped talking and it was like, oh, I don't have time for that. But it's worth listening to. It was very interesting. Like you said, Lynn, totally everybody talking across, looking at the elephant and not understanding the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
You'll let us know when you would like to meet.
You can send out a.
I'll send out a request for time or, yeah. I'm gonna share my screen again. So we can bring
That before we leave tonight. Do you have these electronically? No.
Right.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
Lynn, did you have something to say before we move on to the last item?
Oh, no, does the guy from Oak Grove have a?
Does Grover have his hand up?
Saw his hand up. Screen you just have with the speakers. Yeah, he has his hand up, see to the right.
Overton?
Mhm.
I don't see it there.
Oh, well, now, it was there.
Okay, Lynn.
No comment from Grover. Okay, thanks, Grover.
Okay. 1 second. Right. So as part of the packet, Kathleen Drain drafted a letter, to library boards in the county. So this is a different issue than the Hoodland issue. So, Kathleen Drain, do you want to explain the issue? And then we can talk about how to proceed.
Okay, so this is mainly for Liz and Selena. The library district, when it was formed was formed by the approval of the voters in November of 2008 for what was called a library service district, and that is a legal categorization for a district. The reason why it was explicitly a services district is at the time, the city of Estacada had bonded what was effectively its school district area to build the Estacada Library. And so it had created a capital district that was in existence at the time of the vote for the county-wide library district. As a result of the existence of that capital district, the library district could not be a capital district because you cannot have overlapping capital districts for the same purpose within the county. So under what it was called Measure 3310 in November of 2008, the language presented to the voters said that the money that would be raised at a rate of 39.74 cents per thousand assessed value would be used for services, operations, maintaining programs. And there's some other ambiguous language about basic repairs and improvements. But we know that the improvements could not be capital improvements because you could not use a service district for capital purposes. It's been an issue for several years now within the library district, and this is one of the things that LDAC does, is discuss how the libraries are fulfilling their mission within the library district standards. That certain libraries were using or were starting to use part of their library district revenue for capital purposes. Specifically, Oregon City expanded their library, created a new wing off of the old Carnegie Library. And to do that, the city takes back, and I don't know exactly how the city funded that construction, but they charge the library for effectively the mortgage for the construction cost. They actually went out to their city residents and said to them, "Is this okay with you?" And the city residents said yes. But city residents don't have the ability to rewrite a countywide measure. And more significantly, they did not ask their unincorporated service area whether it was okay with them. The way the city, Oregon City, has resolved that is that the city pays back to the library that portion that would be charged against the unincorporated residents for the mortgage. But they still collect a relatively substantial number for debt service out of the library district revenue. Separately, the city of Happy Valley, for the last 7 or 8 years, has been taking substantial reserves out of their library district revenue to the tune of $7 million, which is now being used to fund the construction of a wing to their existing library, which is the library that was gifted to them by the county. So I had been raising, along with Grover, the question of, why is this occurring in what is a services district that should not be happening? It has taken years to get this question to the Board of County Commissioners who act as the Library District Board. LDAC in late last summer, presented 2 questions to the Board of Commissioners. Is the use of library district revenue for capital permissible? And there is a separate question of what is called allocated costs that cities charge against the district revenue for general overhead that City Hall has acting as manager for each service area. And the amount that each city charges varies significantly from 0 in 3 or 4 libraries, where the libraries actually give back to their library, even way beyond what their general overhead would be, to a range of 3 to 5% in another 6 libraries, and then a range of 6 to 10 or 11%. I have a chart which I can provide you at other libraries. So again, the question was, how much is okay to charge? The agreement that the libraries operate under calls for directly attributable charges to the operation of the library. So in other words, don't start charging formulaic, high percentages for insurance or other things that don't actually meet the directly allocatable proportions. So those are the 2 questions that were presented to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners decided, when the County Council presented these questions to them, at the recommendation of the County Council, that they talk to the cities to see whether the cities want to use any of the service district money for capital purposes, which could now technically be permissible because the city of Estacada's capital district has been satisfied. So there is no existing capital district.
Is that the November 29th meeting you referenced in your staff?
I've gotten so confused at this point with so many meetings down to the honest.
On the letter, just references.
Yes. So, on November 29th, the county said to County Council, go talk to the cities. The position of those of us who represent the unincorporated residents of our service area, that's me and now Selena, I think, right? Or is that Liz? Yes, yes, okay, and I guess this Lena did, city limits, okay. So our interest is that the unincorporated residents provide for the whole library district, if you just look at all the numbers, 45% of the revenue. We also represent approximately 45% of the population. But it ends up that if you remove the cities of Lake Oswego and West Lynn and Wilsonville from the calculation of the district, and one can do that because they actually almost solely represent city residents. They have a minuscule number of unincorporated in their service areas. So effectively their service area is their city limits with a little bit of unincorporated on the side. So they get 100% of the tax that's collected in their service areas for their city residents, and then they get a per capita for the unincorporated. But so their city take is probably 90% of their pay. So if you take them out of the calculation and you look at what is effectively what we used to call the East Side libraries, In other words, all the libraries that are east of the river. It ends up that the unincorporated residents are contributing significantly more per capita to the libraries than the city residents. Yet in this discussion, the county said, just go talk to the cities, who are the managers for each service area legitimately, right? But the unincorporateds have no voice in that process. They have no role in that process. And all the voters, when they voted in 2008, were voting for a service district. So to me,
How is that legal?
thank you, that's the point. My position, I can't say ours because we haven't adopted it yet. My position is that if there is going to be a redefinition of the district, all of the taxpayers should be asked. You know, it can be an up or down, but certainly 45%
At
of
least
the,
have a voice.
are entitled to a voice in this. That may happen, we don't know, right? But it appears to me that the county commissioners will be more than happy to just have the cities resolve this question. Now, any amendment to the operating agreements requires 2/3?
Yes,
A 2/3 approval.
and a financial amendment requires 100%.
Right. So there are effectively 12 library cities, with the county actually acting as one of them. So for something to go forward, they just need 9. Well, there could be 9 libraries that would, cities that would say, yeah, we'd like to have our hands on the capital. But what happens to the 45% of the population?
So help me understand, when I read your thing, I have a couple questions.
Yes,
So, because I've heard, the whole issue about, using the service district money for capital. But, 2008 to 2023, everything's grown. And so how are those folks in those towns who have used it for capital stuff supposed to meet their need? How are they supposed to fund these capital things, given that, there wasn't a, do they form their own capital district like Estacada, or so that's the one question that I feel like needs to be answered in order to give an alternative. Because the reason they're saying go talk to the cities is because, well, who do you talk to up at Hoodland? I mean, obviously you want to talk to the library district board, but I'm confused about that. Again, on the third paragraph of your paper, it says that the use of that money is controlled only by city politicians and administrators with no voter leverage available to the unincorporated contributors.
right. So,
Well, but that's, in these 2 districts, this board controls the funding. The city throws money at it for the mortgage and for, I don't know, $150,000 or something biennium of general fund that we contribute. But we pass the budget, but whatever we're given is what goes into the budget. And if there's certain ways it's wanted to be spent, that's Sarah's decision as your, representative. But it's as the city council, we don't have any say, or it's not our money, it's the library district's money. So that's where I'm.
well, you should be. But Happy Valley didn't take that position. The city council appropriated the money.
So not all cities are.
So the question is, what I hope the city of Sandy will say is, it's inappropriate not to ask, if you want to redefine the library district, you should be asking all the voters. Because the city of Sandy has been a very responsible actor throughout this whole, the tenure. Now, we've had to push and shove a couple of times. For example, on allocated costs, we actually had to push and shove back on that. And
That's another.
And Mr. Deems did the calculations, did the analysis, and made it a very reasonable.
Yeah, and even that, as a city councilor, politician, I think you called me city. You said, again, the use of that money is controlled only by city politicians and administrators. And as one of those city politicians, you know, I'm looking at the whole city, but again, you guys, I mean, the only thing that we do have, you know, I guess some say in is what you get charged for overhead, which is, you know, what it takes to, you know, pay the rent, pay the cleaning, the debt, all of the stuff, the hiring, the firing, the, you know, the contracting, all that stuff. And I don't have a big, huge problem. I mean, we have a formula that we use for all the departments. Now, there's some give and take because obviously like the lawyers, you know, the planning department is the one that generates most of the legal bills, although they're having, you know, with all the water, wastewater stuff. So that can kind of get more funneled to who's using the resource because they're expensive resource. But going into the, you know, total level of detail to kind of figure out exactly how much, you know, is the library and the Hoodland Library and all that, you know, it's, y'all have more employees than everybody but the police department. And so,
I'm not arguing this
Okay.
point. I mean,
well, you couldn't bring it up, but that's why I kind of,
no, but because it's not the same at every city.
well,
The
but
city
they all
of
have
Sandy
different, yeah.
has come up with, because we asked for an analysis, it revised its formula for us in a more favorable way. That was, Mr. Deems did that as part
Right.
of his service.
Yeah.
That
But you know,
hasn't
but
occurred.
here's what I have, the concern I have about that is, you know, that is, what that did was then that put more cost responsibility for those overhead services to Parks and Rec and things like that, that are also, you know, then having to pay more.
Yeah,
So
but
that-
your problem
and far
is-
fewer employees and all that. So that's where, just trying to kind of make sure things are fair and equitable.
It doesn't
for
matter
us.
whether they're fair and equitable. The library district, IGA, says any general allocated overhead must be directly attributable to library services and operations. That's a contractual obligation. It's, you know,
That's
that's
what's
what it's.
direct. I mean, you know, paying Tyler Dean's salary when he's doing everything, yeah, that's a direct, you know,
He's in the formula.
yeah, right.
I'm not
So,
arguing.
yeah,
with you.
I don't think we were, yeah. But that said, I guess I'm just confused about if this is the letter you're wanting to use. I do have that one sentence, the one thing that, you know, the use of that money is controlled only by city politicians and administrators. And you just said that's not the case in Sandy, that we're not.
Well, maybe modify the sentence to say, except Sandy is a working model.
But we don't know what the
No.
other ones are either.
Right.
By some, I mean, it's okay to say some cities or something like that, but I don't,
I think you're
I'm confused.
quibbling about something that isn't worth quibbling about, forgive me, but
Well,
the point is city administrators and city councils approve the budgets that every one of these libraries must operate under. Sarah does not have 100% control over her budget. She has to go to the city council for approval of her budget
To the budget
every biennium,
to the budget committee.
right? It is the city council that approves and controls that budget.
but it's based on the budget that we are given from the county.
No,
We don't say, hey, we want to cut you guys $50,000, you know, off your budget because we have to use all the district money that's given.
yes, and the city of Sandy thankfully does. Not every city has done that. It is a fact that it's the city councils control.
Let me try to put this in a different way, because I can see I don't want to cause conflict. The fact is that the county has washed their hands of all this library stuff, management. You know, basically, they just kind of created this district and then walked away. You can't hardly even get them on a meeting agenda.
Right.
So who's taking the responsibility?
The cities.
The cities. And so putting a letter together that basically kind of accuses them of, you know, controlling all the money, you know, the tone of this is a little
Okay.
strong. And since, you know, they're supposed to be our advocates and help, and, you know, we're supposed to all be on the same page, I hope, if, as much as possible, then it's just, yeah, that.
Point well taken in terms of, and I've said this to Sarah at the outset, you know, the language is not perfect. Right? It might be said better. And I would hope that this group, if it thinks it can be said better, would achieve that. But I don't want us to lose sight that the unincorporated residents have zero voice in that process except through each of the library boards. But in all cases, the library boards are advisory only. And
To the county commissioners.
to you,
No, to the
City
county
council.
commissioners.
to city council.
City council.
Oh, you mean our, yeah, and then the LDAC is to the. But I
And
think,
on LDAC, there are only two, and now there will only be one unincorporated representative on that whole board.
and I think I think that I think I understand where you're coming from and how you read that. But, and I think maybe because we've been talking about this for so long, it's
Forgive me, everybody.
my brain just went, like, I understand it as not a like, you're taking our money and doing whatever you want with it. It's like I think Tyler said this too, like, he's like, if I didn't want this building anymore, I could just sell it. And Kathleen would have no say in that because she doesn't live here, like, she didn't get to elect Kathleen, like,
City asset.
so I think that's where you're coming from with this. It's just that you didn't get to vote for Kathleen, you didn't get to vote for any of the people on the city
Right.
council who make these decisions.
Right.
And if we change this huge IGA and don't ask you guys about it, then we're cutting you off and like, we could do whatever you want. Like, she's not saying you are.
Right, no.
Or
No,
would think
I
about
totally
doing that.
agree with everybody should have a say. What I'm trying to understand is what's the mechanism for people, these city, I mean, even us, if we wanted to add another wing, as all these other folks have done, it sounds like, how would we go about doing that? And
Well,
so,
and I think that's the next thing. That's the next question.
yeah. But I mean, that is the question because it's like, okay, and then, so then changing it from a service to a whatever district that can include the capital stuff, that seems like it's a vote thing. Then, an actual put it on the ballot vote.
Yeah,
And so.
I think that's what we're.
We're not saying that in the letter though.
yeah, we are.
Yeah, her last lines here are to put it to the voters. But I think I'm confused too. I didn't actually know that we had county council confirmation.
Yes, at the November 29 meeting, he submitted as they do on all issues, there's what would you call that, Sarah? There's a memorandum submitted in support of the request. And in it, county council specifically acknowledges that in 2008, this was a services district.
But I don't understand how this is.
Well, there are two ways. This is getting into a lot of nuance here, and forgive me. He actually, if you listen to Mr. Munns's language at that session, he parses his words very carefully. What some of the libraries would like to achieve with district revenue, and this is a question of how it fits in the legal definition, is perhaps to be allowed to make basic repairs that go to the question of, can you open the doors to provide services? So, an air conditioner, all of a sudden, breaks down.
Or a tree came through the roof during the storm.
No, tree coming through the roof during the storm is a capital question. But just, something breaks, a hinge breaks on a door.
That's operations and maintenance.
Right, but for some people, this question has been, how much maintenance is still okay, and then how much maintenance suddenly becomes capital, right? And this has never been clarified, and so this is some of the variation that occurs across cities, depending on how people define it. So I would say some libraries would like that question clarified. And so Mr. Munns, I think when he's working his way through these options, he could see how certain types of expenses might be permissible and not get into the capital area. And that the IGA could perhaps be clarified to permit that type of expense. The county commissioners could unilaterally redefine the district. And the only recourse the citizenry would have would be what is called a remonstrance. And 15,000 to 16,000 signatures would have to be gathered within 6 weeks to put the matter on the ballot. In 2018, this question came up because the county at that point was inclined to so redefine the district because it wanted to take district revenue to build the Gladstone and Oak Lodge libraries. We fought back then, and the commissioners decided that it would be politically inappropriate to make that unilateral move, and they decided not to do it. And what got them out of their hole was ARPA money.
Well, they had, you know.
But they did not spend any district revenue to build the Oak Lodge or the Gladstone libraries. So they actually satisfied the district's obligations. And that was a major win to get them to do that. But we are now back to exactly the same point.
Well, you know, if the whatever, you know, whatever library you're talking about, if the HVAC system breaks down completely, if you say that's a capital to replace the HVAC, it's not.
In
Okay.
some cities it is.
Yeah,
No, but actually Tyler would agree that it
okay,
is.
yeah, and so what I'm saying is, so they can't use district funds, where do you get the money to fix the HVAC? Do you close the library because nobody can stand the heat and cold?
Kathleen, the concept in 2008 was the cities, because they were getting all of the unincorporated money, would provide the buildings as part of their real estate portfolio. That may not be what a city wants to hear these days, but that was the guts of the agreement.
That wasn't Hoodland.
That's what, Hoodland is its own
Yeah.
separate island of problems. Right? And it's been the stepchild
Yeah.
since day one, except for the fact that the city of Sandy stepped in to manage it and did a great job.
I guess
And
what I'm,
does a
yeah,
great job.
what I'm concerned about is if that you want to go to a ballot measure. From where I sit, most of these people who've had a new wing put on or what, you know, or concerned their HVAC might need to be replaced or something like that, would be anxious to ensure that they have the wherewithal to add a wing when it's needed or fix the HVAC or whatever. And so,
Would they do that if they know that their library services will deteriorate?
well, but it's, you know, library services, when your population has doubled or tripled and you don't, and you have just a small little thing, your library services are just curating no matter what. And so, you know, I mean,
So how much are you willing to keep allowing that to happen?
well, I mean, it's based on what their need is. And if they're able to, you know, some of these cities are getting more general fund for the operations and maintenance.
Right.
And they're willing to use the library funds for the capital or vice versa. I don't know. I get a little nervous. I mean, and I'm just gonna say right here, I think there's a connection between what happened with the county and the Hoodland rent and all this. Okay, just because, you know, we're the ones kind of spearheading, we meaning Hoodland is kind of spearheading that. I don't think it's a coincidence that,
We
Yeah.
continue this discussion offline.
yep,
Because Kathy actually wanted to make a motion this evening and we're already past.
Yes,
our
I'm sorry.
time. So let's try to move forward and just continue that discussion later.
yeah, I mean, if you want to make, I'm not a board member, so you guys make the motion if you want, run with it.
So can we get a motion to accept?
Well, maybe should we ask whether anybody has any sensitivity to the language? And would like to, do I need to make the motion first and then amend?
Let's make the motion and then we can have discussion.
I move that this library board consider adopting the motion proposed as attached to the agenda.
I didn't attach a motion. There's no, so
You didn't, no, you didn't put it in the package?
I put the letters of the library boards in the package, but it would be up to us to make a motion.
Right, but I'm saying that the language as proposed in the supply document with today's agenda would be submitted to the other library boards in the district for consideration. I don't know if I've said that right.
So
And perhaps not as a final document, but that if there is.
Thank you, that's just what I was gonna
Well, I was
ask.
gonna say, so I'm making
Yeah.
this motion with the assumption that anybody who would like to amend it
Yeah,
would
Yeah,
modify the
as written.
language, would so speak now.
This is a starter.
I feel like we could, maybe the word is soften the language. I don't think I'm the right person to do that because I understand, but I see that. So I do think that maybe if we soften it a little bit, like since Kathleen is, representing our city council, and she's like, it seems a little harsh, so.
as the advisory board to the city council, I would recommend that you go to the city council.
Yes,
To let them know that you are going to send out this letter to all of the library boards, if that is the intent.
And point of clarification, and that's why I get confused, because what I hear you guys saying is that you, if you voted yes on this, that you would then send it out to everybody. And so that's where, is that,
yeah.
or is the city council in charge, or I mean, I can go either way, just tell me, but it's like, we're saying that, the city council has all the, yeah.
No, I think that language
That's a little
was
confusing.
somewhere that this would go to council to be approved to be sent out. Is that
We
correct?
talked about it, but it
Okay.
wasn't in any of the packet information, so I just wanted to be clear that.
Right, we spoke to Mr. Deems when we were considering this
So
as a
maybe,
possibility.
maybe you need to add that to your motion.
Well, let me just express this to you, that perhaps we would speak to the mayor. The mayor might be okay with us sending this out without having to go to city council, because what we're really asking is for these library boards to speak, to indicate this support for the unincorporated residents' rights.
May I make a suggestion as
Yes.
far as the wording on this? Your last sentence, again, the use this money controlled by only city politicians and administrators with no voter leverage available to the unincorporated contributors. I would like to modify that to say, again, the unincorporated contributors have no voter leverage available. That doesn't accuse anybody.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah, because I mean,
It just says that.
we have a lot of responsibilities.
It just emphasizes that the unincorporated are not represented.
Because that is our main point.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say that, as the liaison, when I kind of hear you talk to this and you want to talk to mayor and stuff, I have a role to play. That's why I come to your meetings. And so please include me in these conversations. Because Stan doesn't, like I said, Stan went to the county commissioner and I told, sure you don't want to go? I'm like, nope, run with it. But, in hindsight, it does help to have me there. And that's why I'm here, is to just, kind of give you and also advocate stuff that's on the council.
Is that okay, Kathleen?
I would be fine with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that takes a lot of blame away and it makes it very about.
Because that is the point,
Yes.
is that there's no representation, no voice.
Yep.
Yep. So,
Do you want
are we
to,
okay with that motion?
do you want to amend your motion at all?
The phrasing on this
Yeah, it's
is
great.
complicated. So I move that the letter proposed in the package, tonight's package, to be sent by this library board to other library boards within the district be amended in the last sentence of the second paragraph to read again, help me out here, Liz. The unincorporated residents have no voter leverage. No, sorry,
That's it.
You say.
has no voter leverage available, period.
Or just
Do you want
very
to?
bluntly say, again, the unincorporated are not represented at all in this. In.
Kathleen, do you want to amend your motion to allow either the mayor to allow the mayor to decide if it should go, if they want a presentation at city council about this situation?
Yes. So.
You know, I just feel like, you know, it is coming from the city of Sandy and I think it's important to. And I guess my question or that I'm trying to figure out is why isn't this coming from the LDIC?
Well, it's a very easy answer, because LDAC referred it to the commissioners for resolution. Now, there's a mixture of opinion and LDAC on this. When LDAC referred this question to the commissioners, there was no intention to just have the cities opine on it. The assumption was that the commissioners would sit on behalf of all of the residents in the county and decide what to do. And for some reason, you know, as they've done frequently, they've kicked it a different way without them spending the time to study or analyze it. So it's really up. It seems to me, and perhaps to Grover, that it's up to the individual library boards to chime in on this, because this is the only way the unincorporateds are able to speak. As each library board is supposed to have a representative sampling of both their unincorporated and their city residents on each of the library boards. So that's the only body in which the unincorporateds actually get to speak. So that's the reason for going this route. And then hoping in turn that each library board will then speak to their city council with their unincorporateds having a voice to go to their city councils.
Yeah, just, you know, it's. The city of Sandy is kind of leading this charge for for all these other cities. It just feels, you know, and it's not that I disagree with the charge. It's just, you know, who's carrying the flag out front and.
Well, whatever.
Especially knowing some people agree and some people don't agree, and some people want to be able to do what they want to do and not get told, or, you know, it's just a political.
It is political, but as I said to City Manager Deans, it seems quite right to me for the city of Sandy to be this champion on this issue, because the Woodland area is 100% unincorporated residents. The Sandy area is more than 50% unincorporated. Right? We actually are one of the few libraries that has a very significant unincorporated population. So if the city of Sandy isn't willing to champion this, who would be? I mean, and the city of Sandy is basically responsible for the founding of the library district in the first place. It has always been the leader. Thankfully. So why not continue that role? It's a great, I think, great political position to be able to say, you should not change what you promised to the taxpayers without letting the taxpayers have a say in it. You know, that is truly the right thing to do. So I would hope that the city council would think of it from that perspective.
When you go to a ballot measure though, I mean, the problem with a lot of this is that the ballot measure in 2008 was way low. They didn't think it would pass, they lowballed the whole figure. And so now we don't have enough money for these, replacing HVAC and other typical things. And so, and so that's kind of the concern is that if you're gonna go out to a ballot measure, I would rather go out with, let's raise the rate so that we can, and let's include this capital stuff so that we can, or let's have a 3%, whatever, inflationary something, that's kind of would be, again, it's a huge thing to go out for a ballot, so.
This ballot measure would only be, can you change it to allow capital expenditures or not? There would be no new tax dollars. We have been totally unsuccessful from LDAC's point of view to get the city managers to agree to go out for a different tax rate. My guess is for the next decade, we are stuck with this number.
Which also means if voters decided, if the city decides it, if all the cities decided and the cities decide to include capital in this fund. Or if the voters decide that capital can be included in this fund, either way that it would go, right? That no library service area could then bond their entire service area to get a new building. So it would hamstring libraries that are still not up to the standard they would like to be, to give their services.
So you're saying that the way to get a new wing or whatever is to form a separate capital?
That is one of the possibilities.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was looking for, is like, okay, because these people, we need to be able to replace HVACs and grow, so what is the mechanism? And that should be, part of the solution.
Well, that's actually would be if the cities go ahead and decide to take capital out of this district, it will preclude that option. And the county council has acknowledged that and will probably present that to the city managers, I hope.
Yeah, but clarifying it, because it's like, okay, they do it because they need to do it, and yet we haven't, we're saying, no, you can't. And so, what's the mechanism that you can legally can't? And so, what Sarah said, that's the legal mechanism so that, it stays as service and not this capital investment. And in order to do a capital, you got to go out with a separate.
I mean, you could either bond your entire service area, or a city like Milwaukee decided just to bond with their city residents. So their city residents, and I mean, the building is a city asset, so it could go either direction depending on.
I think having that extra information, because that's kind of what was missing for me and why I'm not totally thrilled with it, is because, and that's what Stan said to me too, is like, how are these, folks to be able to deal with capital stuff? Where are they going to get the money? What, how do they do that? So that's,
Some more
I guess,
information out there.
yeah, so I would like to see that include, but again, you guys, haven't voted yet, but that having a little clarification of that would be helpful for all of us, for all the, districts, I think.
You could do a little bit of rewriting to include that piece.
I'm not willing to include that piece.
Okay.
So that'll be up to somebody else.
Why is that? Help me understand.
Because you're asking for too much information to be relayed in this document. The only purpose of this document is to say that whatever is done should be done with the voice of the unincorporated.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you, Kathleen, that all these other issues talked about, but not.
Not in this document.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just going to weigh in on Captain Drain's side here. I think we're making it way more complicated. Whoever it was who just said a minute ago, if the voters voted one thing, it is not up to the councilors, the county commissioners, to take down the road to the cities to make a decision that would be different. If the voters voted one way, that's the way it should be. And if there's a problem to be addressed on maintenance and other issues, then that needs to be addressed separately. It just seems, as an unincorporated voter, to me, it just seems wrong that you can just change. And it does seem to me that it belongs with LDAC and the county commission rather than just the cities. So, I'm all for the softening of language, Liz. I thought that was a great idea, but I think we're making it way more complicated, bringing in so many things. Dr. Mute.
You wanna call the question?
So,
You wanna call the question? Kathy has a motion on the table. Does somebody wanna second it, I guess?
and as, with the modification.
And to include, the modification includes seeking to be fully on the question of whether to refer the matter to the full city council before it is issued to other libraries.
We have a second.
Sorry, was there a second?
Lynn, I'm sorry,
I didn't know if there was a second, I'm sorry.
there has not been a second.
Okay, second.
Right, you can just repeat it.
That was a second for you, Lynn.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of this motion? Kathy Drain.
Aye.
Any opposition? Did we get you, Selena? Okay, great. Any opposition?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Meeting adjourned.
I need to do a staff update, sorry.
Yes.
I was myself so out.
Just so Liz and Selena know, we have, in my tenure with the library board, we have never, ever gone this long for a meeting, so. As you can tell, these are very complicated issues, very critical issues, and I just really want to thank everyone for hanging in so that we can continue this to the last agenda item here that Sarah has for staff updates, and thank you so much. So.
So you all got the notification that Pia Ellen is leaving the library, she's moving to Seattle. Her going away party is Thursday, February 15th, from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Come and have coffee and pastries and wish her farewell. She's done an amazing, she's really taken our publicity to the next, next level.
Next galaxy.
Yeah. So it's gonna be hard to replace her. The position is open currently on the city website, so if you know of anybody who has graphic design experience or be interested, please let them know. We hope to get a good candidate pool.
Did she do that little thing that we?
The infographic, yeah.
She's made.
Yeah, she does all of our publicity and all of our flyers, so everything that you, the newsletters and, yeah, everything that you see come out of the library. Yeah. So,
And the art show, art exhibits on
on the grade level.
the gray wall.
And then I spoke with Jeff Fadi, the assistant city manager, about our open library board position. It's in Woodland area. And he agreed that since we have been talking about Woodland a lot and it's gonna be on the agenda coming up, that we need to recruit for that Woodland person. So I asked him for a week after this meeting for us to get time to contact people who live in the Woodland area, to get them ready to apply. He's gonna open it about a week from today, so hopefully we can get a new library board member.
There was a discussion of Brooke, I think her name was Kathleen.
Oh, yes, I haven't seen her.
Yeah.
Gardening. Right?
Tell me that,
I'll get her name.
yeah, send it to me and then I'll see if I can contact her up there. I have another person in mind, but we'll see.
Okay, I will shoot that to you.
Thank you.
Great.
8:10. During the meeting. Thank you again, everyone, so much for being with us.
Thanks for
your
Thank you.
participation.
You know, this issue is so